Hey, good afternoon. The time now is 1 o'clock, so we're going to begin the 2021 town meeting for the town of Webster. So I'm calling the meeting to order. Just one housekeeping piece before we get into this. We have arranged that we can use the gym if necessary. So if the rain were to pick up and it was really not worth staying outside, we'll quickly take a recess to move into the gym and bring your chair along with you. We can space out in there, and that will work out pretty well for the size of the crowd that we have today. So that is our backup plan. But otherwise, I'd rather carry on right here and make sure that we can get it done. So I hope everybody is comfortable. So I'm going to start by asking our newly elected select board member, Marlo Herrick, to stand. Marlo is in the middle of the basketball court, and everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Marlo's going to lead us, and the flag is right out toward the river. So if you look in that direction, you'll see the U.S. flag, and Marlo, take it away. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I just want to acknowledge at the start of the meeting this is probably the most unique town meeting I've ever attended. So here we are outside. We have asked people to wear masks. The governor has lifted the mask order. However, they still are highly recommended by the Department of Health and Human Services. So we're asking people to please have the mask on for the meeting. And folks who are unable to wear a mask, I see some folks in the back of the space. That's perfect. Thank you for that. And we'll make sure everybody's able to participate in the meeting today. The PA system, there are mics set up at the front table. There is one microphone right here with some wipes next to it. So if you're going to address the town meeting, remember that you step up to that mic and then address your comments to me. There's a second mic in the back corner just in case somebody without a mask outside wants to access the mic. But most people will be able to access this mic successfully. When you're done speaking, please take a wipe and clean the mic off so that we know that it's ready and sanitized for the next speaker behind you, okay? So let me just start by taking a few moments. There are some folks in town that we want to recognize right at the start of the meeting, and I'm going to begin with our veterans. So if you are a veteran of the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the Merchant Marine, would you just please stand so that the town can recognize you and thank you for your dedication and service to our country. I'm going to ask a few other groups to stand to be recognized. So the way Webster works is on town volunteers. When you look through the annual report and see the number of people who volunteer for this town, it's really in part how we're able to function and to work. So if you have been on a committee, volunteered to help at the elections, volunteered in any way to support the town of Webster, would you please stand to be recognized by your neighbors? And one other group that I want to call out this year, and the year of the COVID, if you would, are our frontline workers. I mean, whether you're a nurse, a medical worker, if you've been a teacher who's been helping to keep the schools open and operating, you also deserve recognition. Town employees who have been helping to keep everything going. Please stand to be recognized as a frontline worker in this past year. I want to recognize our first responders. I can see our police and our fire department folks are over here. We know that it's been a very difficult year for the Webster Fire Department, and we thank them for their dedication because they're coming out at all hours of the day, 24/7, rain, snow, sleet, hail, they're there. And so thank you to all of our first responders and fire department in this very difficult year. The fire department is here. Jake Brown is in the back, and Jake is issuing fire permits. So if anybody is in need of a fire permit to kindle a fire, you can see Jake at any point. He'll take care of you with that. Now let's have a moment of silence because Webster has lost a few people this year, and I want to start with Harold Janeway, who has served the town and the state in many capacities, and Harold passed this year. And so let's have a moment of silence for Harold. It's also appropriate to recognize and have a moment of silence for Captain Sindel Donahue, who also was taken from us far too early and far too young. And finally, a moment of silence for anyone else, neighbors, friends, loved ones that we've lost in the past year. And now I just want to acknowledge the dedication that the Select Board made in the town report to the election officials. I can promise you it's been my pleasure serving to help keep the elections, again, in a most unusual year, honest and fair, and making sure that every vote was counted, and that's exactly the way we do it in Webster. Also helping, we have our town clerk, Michelle Derby, our supervisors at the checklist, Nancy Webster and Sarah Chalsma, and our newly elected member is Jen Stillwell, who was volunteering to help us through last year. So thank you, Select Board, for that dedication and recognition. Much appreciated by all of us. And it was tough. We really do appreciate that you did that. And a reminder that some matters that may come forward today are best addressed at the state level. So our representatives are Margaret Kennedy and Natalie Wells, and our senator is Harold French. And so some things that come up today may possibly be referred to them, because that's the appropriate way to have citizen input into decisions that are made. So keep in mind, I don't believe Representatives Kennedy, Wells, or Senator French are here, but those are the appropriate avenues to pursue some things. All right, so at this point, I'm going to introduce the chair of the Select Board, Chris Shadler, and she will introduce the Select Board and town staff.
Great. Can you hear me? Okay, thanks, Mike. So, welcome to town meeting, to all of the old as well as the new residents in town. I'd like you to meet first the Select Board members, Dave Hemingway and Dee Blake. I am the soon-to-be former chair of the board, and I'd like to thank the many of you for your support during my tenure on the board. Welcome to Marlo, who will be sworn in following this meeting. I'd also like to introduce our town staff. Our town administrator, close to Mike, is Dana Hadley, if you haven't met him yet. Wonderful, terrific job that he's doing. Russell Tatro, our assistant town administrator and land use coordinator, who also joined us in August. Wendy Pinkham, right next to Russell, is with us part-time in financial administration. Karen King continues to be our tax collector. Bruce Johnson, our treasurer, and of course Michelle Derby, our town clerk. Absolutely. And I too, as a member of the Select Board wants to credit the police and fire departments for the constancy of their support during the pandemic. Since its beginning, Steve and Emmett advised the Select Board on protocols to ensure the safety at the town hall and safety building. Steve even spent a valuable Saturday physically placing appropriate barriers for the town staff so that services could resume at town hall. Thank you, Steve. Our fire department dealt with a terrible fire which could have ended in tragedy, but did not, thanks to Ben and the firefighters that day. The town is grateful to have such committed and giving volunteers.
No, that was perfect. David, did you want to make a couple of remarks?
Actually, I believe we have some announcements first, which would be Dana. However, this would be a good time to cover a motion for all of our employees who may not be local residents to be able to speak at the meeting.
So a motion made by Mr. Select Board Member Hemingway, seconded by Ms. Chris Shadler, to allow non-voters to speak during the meeting, so that would include our town folks. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries, so Mr. Hadley, it is yours. I'm inclined to plug ahead in the rain, I guess. So I'm getting the signal that perhaps we ought to take a recess in order to shift into the gym. So I'll take a motion from the select board to take a 5-minute recess, and we'll reconvene inside the gymnasium. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Okay, we're going in the gym. You can head right around. The double doors are open in the back.
To be resumed once indoors.
So this is going to be kind of good old-fashioned town meeting because we're going to do it without a PA system. So I'll project my voice and we'll just ask anybody speaking to do the same. So I believe that we were about to have our town administrators address us with a few announcements. So, Dana, the floor is yours. You got to press play and record.
No, I'm good. Well, my first announcement is I lost my glasses. There he is. Yeah.
So the announcement is he lost his glasses.
I have a couple of announcements I'd like to make. One is the select board is receiving bids for the restaurant-style stove that's in the kitchen of the train hall. It's a very nice stove that burns 2 ovens and a grill, and we are soliciting bids for it. And if you're interested, please let us know by tomorrow. The other thing that I'd like to say is the planning board, we're looking for volunteers to serve on the planning board. So if we have such a desire to do that, we'd love to chat with you. Now I'll give it to you.
Chris, it is at this time that I would like to publicly thank you for your service. On behalf of the town, the board, and myself. Public positions, by nature, are always controversial. If it is impossible to please all of the people all of the time. You and I have certainly had our disagreements, but have also been able to accomplish a lot for the town. No matter whether people agree with you or not, there are many constant attributes that you have always shown. Of those, I would like to point out 2 today that have without a doubt impacted the town positively. Determination and dedication to time. Your determination and dedication to putting the hard work and time that it takes to get things done is not something that anyone can question. You've always shown me, be it with long-standing projects that you helped push forward, pushing through setbacks, surprises, resignations, and pandemics.
I don't know where we went to.
Or the long slog of interviewing and hiring an entirely new set of town hall employees, while we also redesigned the position's job descriptions and workflows. We would like to present you with this thank you gift of local Webster maple syrup in hopes that we may have sweet memories your time at the front, and a well-sustained future. Thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, so just a couple of housekeeping rules before we tackle the warrant. The town report you have on page 8, there is a purple page which has the moderator's rules of the meeting listed. They are the same as what we have had for the last couple of years. So at this point, I would take a motion to adopt the rules that's listed on page 8 of the town report. Moved and seconded. Excellent. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. So those are the rules of the meeting. I won't read those over. Everybody who is voting today needs to have the wrist, the red, white, and blue wrist tag on, so make sure that you have that if you hand vote, and then you'll show your yellow voter card, and that's how we know that you are a registered voter in Webster participating today. One other reminder is that the law relative to ballot votes, I would ask everybody to really carefully consider if that's a process that you want to go through. Do you think that having a ballot vote will change the outcome of the vote? The reason is because there's a time period that will be required to take a ballot vote. Most people that I've talked to this morning have commented they appreciate the relatively light, boring, and straightforward approach that the select board has taken, and hopefully we can get that business conducted without a ballot vote. So please consider whether you think that invoking a ballot vote will change the outcome. So we can hopefully be done in maybe about an hour. All right? Let's get into it. So warrant article number 1. To choose all necessary town officers for the ensuing year. We had 282 ballots cast for select board, a 3-year seat. Our winning candidate was Marlo Harris with 140 votes, and we want to thank Christine Stabler for running in that election. For select board 1 year, Norman B. Blake received 216 votes and was elected. For supervisor detectives 1 year, Jennifer D. Stilwell received 222 votes and was elected. For cemetery trustee, Darlene Cummings received 147 votes and was elected. A big thank you to Craig Fournier who ran in the election. Library trustee for 3 years, Leslie Collins was elected with 231 votes. Trustee of trust funds for 2 years, it was a write-in only. And listen to this. There were 24 people across town who received 30 total votes. And Judy Jones was elected with 3 votes. So it shows you democracy in action. 3 votes, Judy is elected. And the trustee of trust funds for a 3-year term, Patricia Lacqua was elected with 213 votes. Moving on to warrant article 2. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,624,830 for general municipal operations. This article does not include appropriations contained in special or individual articles addressed separately. A majority vote is required. The select board is recommending this by a vote of 3-0, and we have a motion to bring the article to the floor from select board member David Hemingway, seconded by select board member Chris Stabler. Mr. Hemingway, the floor is yours to address the article.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. So overall, operating budget is up 4.18%, but the total expected outlay of the town is actually down 1% thanks to an almost 10% reduction in warrant article expenditures, which you'll hear about later. Unfortunately, we also expect reduced revenue in large part due to the reduction from the state for block grant and meals and room status. So unfortunately, do not expect your taxes to drop. For the operating budget, the good news first. We have reduced executive spending despite increases in personnel costs driven mainly by a reduction in technology line items thanks to the Technology Expendable Trust Fund. Election-related items are less thanks to this not being a presidential election year. Cemetery and parks recreation requirements are also down after completion of repairs in prior years and less of a need for supplies. Long-term debt is down significantly due to the solar array outside by the school here, loan now being paid off. The highway block grant is also down, but this is a dollar-for-dollar match with the revenue that comes from it, so it does not really affect the budget. Department budget amounts did not change for financial and personnel administration, emergency management, public safety, solid waste disposal, the library, and other programs, commissions, and committees with smaller operating budgets. Of particular note, highways and streets has also remained the same, with additional road work this year expected to come from the capital reserve and expendable trust funds that the town has been building up. For significant increases, reevaluation and assessment is up due to having to hire a utility assessor, which was not accounted for when discussing the savings of the new assessing company in prior years. Insurance is up due to dramatically increased plan prices and an increase in covered individuals due to family plans and an additional employee. Police are up due to wages and having to account for the police cruiser, which you'll hear more about in a moment. Legal is up mainly due to ongoing and expected legal consultation. Ambulance and fire are up due to the cost of shared services such as the Hopkins ambulance service and dispatch going up. For less impactful increases, continuing and expected legal review of ordinance, such as the Wetlands Protection Ordinance, along with building lot issues also drive up the planning and zoning budget. Government buildings increases are driven by wages, expected repairs, and increases in costs for postage, propane, and telephone service. Code enforcement is up slightly as we expect a code enforcement officer this year. In fact, that should be at Monday's meeting that we will talk about that. Health and welfare are both up slightly due to increased time allotments being required by personnel. In total, the 4.18% increase in operating budget equates to about a $65,000 increase. However, it is important to note that this also includes the police budget and includes the police cruiser purchase that won't actually impact the tax rate. For side reference, we did have, unfortunately, a totaling of the cruiser earlier in the year. That has been taken care of with insurance, and now we will explain that. This is due to one of the cruisers being totaled, and the insurance coverage doesn't directly pay the manufacturer or the repair facility, but instead goes into our revenue. So it must also be shown as an expense on the budget. Without that, the operating budget would have only increased by about 2%. That is the total of the budget areas. I yield back to Mike until there are further questions.
Are there any questions on general operating budget? All the questions. Say it again, George. All the questions. All of the questions. Excellent. We're ready to vote then. All in favor of adopting Article 2 as read, please say aye. Aye. Can you hold your cards up? Yep. Any opposed? That motion carries and Article 2 is adopted. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $447,000 to be added to the following established capital reserve funds under RSA 35:1. A majority vote is required. Medical equipment, $6,000. Fire department air packs, $20,000. Emergency apparatus, $50,000. Fire department mobile communications, $10,000. Police cruiser, $19,000. Highways and roads, $200,000. Bridge culvert improvements, $75,000. Public safety buildings, $5,000. Town hall improvements, $5,000. Town office equipment, $5,000. Webster Hopkins transfer station, $4,000. Fire department dry hydrant repairs, $2,000. Reappraisal, $5,000. Fire department bunker gear, $2,500. Highway equipment, $7,500. Police equipment, $6,000. Highway land building fund, $25,000. The select board is recommending this by a vote of 3-0, and the motion is being brought to the floor by Steve Blake and seconded by Chris Taylor. And Chris, I believe you're yielding to Dana to comment on this. Town Administrator Dana Hatchett.
This article you've seen before. It is the article that raises and appropriates funds to transfer into capital reserve funds. Those are funds that are held by the trustees of trust funds. If you have an interest in what the balances are on page 59 in your town report, it lists the balances at the end of the year. The amounts are worked on in the fall. The capital improvement committee meets. They meet with department heads to find out what projects are coming up in the future. And from that, they draw up a plan, a 6-year plan that they draw up, and then they present that to the select board. And the select board make minor changes or other changes and bring it forward. This is a good way. The town of Webster's done a very good job in raising funds for the capital reserve fund. It really helps stabilize the tax rate as well as negate the need to borrow money.
Are there any questions or comments on warrant Article 3? Are you ready to vote? All in favor of adopting warrant Article 3 as read, please raise your hand with your card. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Moderator?
I move to restrict the consideration of Article 2 and 3.
We're going to move to restrict reconsideration of Articles 2 and 3. Is there a second to that motion? Ms. King? What that means is to adopt this, we will not be able to come back to that or to change what we've done. It will put into practice for the next year. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, please move your card up. Any opposed? That motion carries. That was made by Mr. Thomas. All right, on to Article 4. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $138,000 to be added to the following established expendable trust fund per RSA 31:10-A. A majority vote is required. Road preservation, $100,000. Technology fund, $10,000. Forest fire, $2,000. Fire department equipment, $5,000. Highway, $5,000. Legal for Webster, $6,000. Compensated absences, $2,500. Municipal property maintenance, $2,500. Police vehicle maintenance, $5,000. The select board is recommending this by a 3-0 vote. It's being brought to the floor by Chris Taylor and seconded by David Hemingway. The primary speaker today will be Ms. Taylor. Chris?
Thank you. Can you all hear me properly? Okay. Everything here is pretty much the same as last year with 2 exceptions. You'll note that road preservation this year is $100,000. Last year it was $200,000, and the CIP committee recommended that road preservation and
Trying here.
pardon me?
I'm sorry, he was looking to get that shut off, we tried to shut it
It's on
off.
a timer. Yeah. And highways and roads from the preceding page, you'll see highways and roads is $200,000. And road preservation is $100,000. These were flip-flopped from last year. CIP thought it would be better to make more money, more fluid for Emmett. So we hope that that's going to work out this year. Police vehicle maintenance is up a little bit because of the cruiser incident. And everything else is, the technology fund. Last year, we had a warrant article for the technology fund. And that technology fund actually ended up purchasing a server as it was intended to do for the police department. So it's down substantially from last year. We're hoping to build up enough money that we can replace the server in the town offices in the next year or so. Other than that, it's the same as last year.
Are there questions or comments on warrant article 4? Are you ready to vote? So all in favor of warrant article 4 as read, please show your card. Anybody opposed? That motion carries and warrant article 4 is adopted. Warrant article 5. To see if the town will vote to establish a contingency fund for the current year under the provisions of RSA 31:98-A for unanticipated expenses that may arise, and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $16,234 to put into the fund. This sum is to come from the unassigned fund balance, and no amount will be raised by taxation. Any appropriations left in the fund at the end of the year will lapse to the general fund. This is an individual warrant article, and a majority vote is required. The select board is recommending this by a vote of 3-0, and we have a motion to bring it to the floor by board member Blake, seconded by board member Hemingway. The primary speaker today will be Steve Blake.
I know you can hear me. This is a 1% of the budget, and it's by law that it has to be 1%, and if we don't spend it, it goes back to the general fund, so it won't cost us anything. But if we have a problem, we have money right here for it.
Are there any questions on warrant article 5, contingency fund? Yes.
How is that going to be spent? Like, do we vote on that, or is it just you guys have discussion?
How will it be spent? The select board will be the ones to
Well,
determine it.
we will be the ones, but we won't spend it unless it's an emergency that's not covered in any of the budget.
Any other questions on it? Are you ready to vote? All in favor of adopting warrant article 5 as read, please show your card. Any opposed? Warrant article 5 is adopted as read. Restrict reconsideration for which article is on? For the two that were done previous, so restricting for article 4 and for article 5. Mr. Clark has made a motion. Is there a second? There are several. All in favor of restricting reconsideration, please hold your card up. Anybody opposed? So we no longer will revisit Article 4 or Article 5. We're moving on to number 6. Number 6 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to help offset the cost of the bond for funds to repair the dam. Passed at the Pillsbury Lake Water District meeting held August 5th, 2006. A majority vote is required. It is recommended by the select board by a 3-0 vote. It's being brought to the floor by member Blake, seconded by member Stabler, and Steve Blake will be the primary speaker to remind us about this warrant.
This helps the Pillsbury Lake, when their dam went out, and we had a nice big flood in 2006. It helps Pillsbury Lake, they are part of our town, and it just helps them pay off their loan, and it's only going to go for 2 more years. I think it's paid off in 2022.
Are there any questions on warrant article 6, the dam warrant article? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? All in favor, please hold your card up supporting article 6. Any opposed? And that motion also carries as read. We're now on to article 7. Article 7 was a petition warrant article for the New Hampshire resolution for fair, nonpartisan redistricting. By petition of 25 or more eligible voters of the town of Webster, to see if the town will vote to urge that the New Hampshire General Court, which is obligated to redraw the map of political districts within the state following the federal census, will ensure fair and effective representation of New Hampshire voters without gerrymandering. Additionally, these voters ask the town of Webster to urge the New Hampshire General Court to carry out the redistricting in a fair and transparent way through public meetings, not to favor a particular political party, to include communities of interest, and to minimize multi-seat districts. The record of the vote approving this article shall be transmitted by written notice from the selectmen to Webster state legislators, informing them of the demands from their constituents within 30 days of the vote. And again, this was a petition warrant article that's being brought to the floor today by Petitioner Sally Emily. Is there a second to bring it to the floor? I have a second. Sally, the floor is yours to speak to the warrant article.
I hope everybody here knows what gerrymandering is. Very bad practice. This is a case where the legislators who have to draw the district for the coming 10 years set the stage for what size and amount and characterization of the different districts. I'm hoping we can get this over quickly, but if anybody has any questions, I'd just like to say that the key points are fairness, that it's balanced, that it's transparent so that people can see what is going on when the legislators draw these maps. These are maps that are going to last for 10 years, so this is a process that really should be scrutinized very carefully. I don't have anything else to say unless you have questions that I could answer. I want to tell you that 60 towns have already considered this and 58 of them passed the resolution. So there's widespread support, and I'm hoping that transparency is the key here. When the legislature meets, they have a special committee, draw the maps. Everyone will be watching to see if they really are fair and balanced.
Are there any questions or comments on warrant article 7? Yes, Mike, you want to comment back?
I just hope everybody understands that if legislators do not follow whatever we vote on today, that we take it upon ourselves to make it more controlled the next time they out of us for election.
Any other questions or comments on this article?
I would just like to point out that Mike made a comment earlier about the state representatives, which are listed here. And if you feel strongly about this one way or another, directly contacting your state representatives is the most effective and most important way to go about doing that.
Any other questions or comments? Chris?
Yeah, I would just like to add that, this is not about Republican or Democrat. It is this, it's not just Democrats or Republicans that gerrymander. Everybody does it. And it's bad for everybody when everybody does it. That's one point. Another point is that I believe in the voice of the people. And yes, we can contact Natalie and Carol, and we should. But I also think that there is great merit in the voices of the people of New Hampshire saying, in essentially one petition voice, we want a fair, more transparent process. And as long as it is not, as long as it's bipartisan, we should all want this. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Are you ready to vote? All in favor of adopting Article 7 as read, hold your card high. Any in opposition? So Article 7 is adopted as read. Congratulations to that. Again, democracy in action.
We are on article number 8, which is to transact any other business that may legally be come before the meeting. Does anybody have additional business they want to bring before town meeting 2021? Great.
My name is Craig Cornelius. I live on Deer Meadow Road, and I'm on the planning board. And recently we've had 2 resignations, Sue Rock and Kimberly Lee, both very active here. So we're looking for new people who are interested in the town, Webster, future, and what it involves is 1 meeting a month, 1 evening, and occasional trips to look at properties, lot lines, driveways, people who want subdivision, that sort of thing. Because those are issues come up before the planning board. So if you're interested, you can see me over Rusty Tatro, who's our land use coordinator. But please, we definitely need people. Please consider it or communicate to people you think might be interested.
Thank you. Another comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering when they're going to fix the bridge over there to White Plains Road, the culvert. That's going to be going up a bit here.
So,
Spring would be good.
let's get an answer on the progress update for that bridge. You may as well take Clothespin Bridge while you're at it, because that'll be another one that will last about.
So I'll cover the easy one first, which is Clothespin Bridge, because you mentioned it, and then I'll get to White Plains Bridge. Clothespin Bridge is still along its same process. It is going as expected at this point in time, and it's scheduled by the state for fiscal 2023, which is 2022 timeframe for the beginning of construction of the replacement for Clothespin Bridge. For White Plains Bridge, we have actually had that out a few different times with engineering. At this point in time, we are waiting for sign-offs from the abutters and the engineers so that it can be sent through DES. Once that is approved by DES, we can order the materials and start work on it. But unfortunately, we are still waiting on that process.
That doesn't go up to bid. You order materials and you guys going to bid this out. I mean, that's going to be more than $10,000.
So the order of materials will most likely be for the box culvert as
Right.
the majority of that. At this point in time, we have, rather than following the open bid process, since there are only a few companies that actually make these, we've contacted all of them for quotes, or I should say our engineer has, and we will be reviewing all of that to go with the most appropriate one at the time it goes through DES.
And then we'll go out to bid for like a contractor to put it in.
At this point in time, I believe that is expected to be road work, and so will be done by our illustrious Emmett.
So it's not going out to bid. It's going to be over $10,000 to fix that, and we'll come put it out to a contractor to bid on it.
The way that the contracts and such are written and the legal authorities given for road work is that all road work falls under the authority of the road agent. And if it is a larger project than he's able to handle, then we do need to go request bids. But the key there is that a larger project than he can handle is not based on dollar amount. Things such as the culvert, when we are bringing in supplies for it, those would fall under you either need additional X number of quotes or open bids, and so that is the process that we have followed.
Excellent. I'm going to take a moment of privilege before anybody else. I'll come back. I just want to acknowledge the great partnership we have with the school district. Chuck Houston and Robert Longbaugh, who work for the school district, were here today helping us with setup and equipment. And I just want to thank them for their time, especially the quick pivot in the ranking. Are there any other items or comments? Mr. Pearson?
Yes, I'd like a little bit of transparency from the Board of Selectmen and Police Chief. There's been a lot of records from the Selectmen's office that have been shredded, disappeared. A lot of the information from the computers that has been wiped out. Mr. Johnson has been indicted. I believe there's been a lot of investigations being done. Town office has been quite a few auditors in the town office. And I believe there may be more people being maybe investigated in the town office. And any more information that may be out there for the public, I think we need some answers. So any transparency that should be out there for the public, I think the public needs some answers on why all town information has been wiped out of the computers, where they went, why the paperwork has been shredded, who did it, why. I think we need some answers.
Excellent. The one thing I will say, it sounds to me, as I listen to that,
I would like the answers from the selectmen and the chief,
that there's an investigation going on, so they will be limited in what they're able to share as part of an investigation, but if somebody has a comment that they feel that they can make, it's totally up to you.
No, I can make a comment. We have one investigation, I can't get into the specifics of it. It went before the county attorney's office and before the indictment board on Thursday. And we won't have an outcome on it until Monday or Tuesday. It went before indictment on Thursday. Everything else I can't comment on. We have nothing against missing paperwork from the selectmen. I have no information on that at all that I can, it's not up to us to investigate, and that hasn't been brought forward. What was missing that have been brought before me for missing paperwork, that's not for us to investigate. We can't. That's why we sent the other stuff to the county attorney's office. Questions?
I just asked about, I do know I talked to Mr. Hemingway about the paperwork, and he did say that a lot of paperwork was shredded in that town office. He said he did not know what was done and who did it. But he did tell me that there was a lot of stuff was shredded.
So
And he did admit that there was a lot of stuff that disappeared out of that town office.
So what I have said is there's a report that as previous administration was leaving, there had been lots of shredding happening. I do know that as part of leaving, they were organizing and cleaning up records for the new administration that would come in. The only thing as far as missing records that I can say is that there have been some records that I know under the right to know request we were unable to find. But I can't and certainly did not say that those were shredded. That's really the only information that I have and can share. Because unfortunately, I was not really around.
What's going on with all the auditors in the town office? Why are they on it?
Regular audit. Every year they do the audit.
So we're undergoing an audit right now.
So this is the annual audit for last fiscal year.
Right.
That's the normal audit, and you will see, for example, the result of that from the previous year is inside your town report. And so next year at town report, we'll see the results of those auditors in that town report as well. So that is the normal yearly auditing process.
Any other questions or comments? Sally?
I just have an announcement.
This is the opening day of the official townwide roadside cleanup for Webster. Yay. Now, there are a bunch of blue bags outside, and for people who have participated in the past, and I counted them all up from 8 years, 60 people from Webster have been faithfully cleaning up our roadside. So we have a little gift in the form of a packet of pansies. Now, if you have been helping, there are 3, I'm trying to organize names A through D, F through L, and M through W, 3 lines. You would come outside to the table with the yellow covering and pick up your reward. Thank you all. 60 is really an impressive amount, and if you want to volunteer and get pansies next year, please take bags. As many as you think will be needed in your community. I'm sorry that some people aren't here who I'd really like to recognize, so they'll have to get their pansies later. But those of you who are here and you know who you are, outside after the meeting.
Sally was organized this for many years. We appreciate that effort. It's really terrible that all these people from outside of Webster keep coming in and throwing trash around their roadside. But thank you to everybody who helped to pick that up. Are there any other questions? Yes, Linda?
I just want to add to roadside cleanup. We've had one day, Tom and I have done it in town and thrown back up. That's not happening this year. You're on your own. If you need help, give Sally a call. Her number is in the grapevine, and we will organize it. We're asking in its own fashion as you do it.
Excellent reminder. Please take your blue bag and feed it on directly. That would be perfect. Yes, sir.
Yeah, any questions about this walk and this meeting on the back of one and two? Hereby notified the warrant. Annual business meeting will be held this morning. All date April 17, 2021. The rain date of May 8, 2021. 1 p.m. Location: school playground. Webster Elementary School. Meeting will be held. The social distancing outside observed by those concerned regarding COVID-19. And my question, why didn't we have it on May 8th? The reason we aren't having this at the town hall is brought everybody inside. That because we got a small voter count.
Yeah, so the question about the rain date, the governor's executive order, they allowed us to announce at the time we posted the warrant the date of the meeting. If we were to move it, we had to make a decision prior to it, I think it was 48 hours in advance, it had to be noted. We met on Thursday, we reviewed the weather, and we determined that we were good to go today based on the weather forecast at the time. It didn't do what it said it was going to do, and we were here 30 minutes before, the sun was out, and it was actually pretty nice out there, which is what we thought was going to happen. To the point about why we came in here and not to town hall, we put that forward, and everybody wanted to come in here, so we followed that. We could have walked across the street also, but this was the part where we didn't way to do it. So I will say that I'm sure those making that vote looked at the size of the project here today and determined this was the best thing to do. So I appreciate that everybody came together to have this happen, and we made the best call we could based on the forecast that we had. Any other business? Mr. Cummings? So I will take a motion to dissolve the 2021 school district meeting. It is seconded by Mr. Clark. All in favor of dissolving? I'm sorry, town meeting. Wrong hat. Sorry, town meeting, my apologies. All in favor of dissolving the meeting at 2:01, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Have a great year, everybody.